here with me today, and they're willing to share some of their stories, and you'll hear from them very directly shortly. I want to share a common theme, though, that I heard from each of them during our roundtable. Life is far too expensive right now, and soaring healthcare coverage is about to make life even harder. In fact, the short-term spending law that Trump just signed into law guarantees just two things. Wealthy Republican senators suspected of helping Trump try to steal an election just got awarded millions of dollars in payouts funded by you, the taxpayer, in this bill. And life for working Americans will just get more expensive. That's because this spending law accelerates Republicans' larger assault on Americans' access to quality, affordable health care. Don't forget, Republicans already slashed $1 trillion from Medicaid with the big ugly law. And that same law, passed in the middle of the night while Americans slept this summer, will also pull $500 billion out of Medicare. But in this latest shutdown law, Republicans allowed massive health care price hikes to drop on struggling Americans. Millions will be priced out of any coverage at all, and as you'll hear, it's going to drive coverage costs up and health services down for all of us, not just Affordable Care Act enrollees. Republicans made health care costs much more expensive for all Americans in this short-term budget law. Instead of lowering health care costs, and Republicans authorized millions for a slush fund lottery win for 8 Republican senators. That was in this bill. Tragically for all of us, it meant Republicans continued to break their promise to lower our costs. Our rent, our coffee, beef, and eggs that we buy each week, even electric bills, all are more expensive. Yet as people already struggle to get by, this new law allows huge health insurance hikes to fall on 203,000 people in my district alone, and 82,000 people will lose coverage altogether due to the impacts of the big ugly law that the Republicans jammed through over the summer, and Republicans' refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Worse, this law also reneges on our sacred commitment to veterans. I'm the lead Democrat of the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Appropriations Subcommittee. I take our promise to our veterans personally and very seriously. Just this summer, I was able to secure bipartisan support for my amendment to restore $51.7 billion in advance funding for the Toxic Exposures Fund. That fund promises our toxic exposed veterans are able to get access to their health care seamlessly. President Trump even requested that funding in his own budget. Yet Republicans gutted this critical funding protection for our veterans in the final legislation. And when I tried to offer an amendment last week to restore it, Republicans refused to consider it. Just so we're all clear, the working Americans standing up here with me today will see their budgets hammered from healthcare coverage price hikes, and veterans will see future healthcare funding for toxic exposures put in jeopardy. And that is also billionaires could get huge tax breaks permanently. It did not have to be this way. Republicans didn't need to take a taxpayer-funded vacation for nearly 2 months. They could have sat down with Democrats to negotiate a better health plan for our struggling families. My way the highway politics is absolutely unacceptable. I know that we can't get everything our way, even though we're fighting to make sure that people can afford their health care. And Republicans can't either. That's what negotiation and compromise is all about. But you have to come to the table in order to make sure we can do that. Democrats will keep fighting like hell to extend these health care tax credits before they expire, and stand by our promise to lower costs for all Americans. So don't be fooled by what happens in Washington this week. Republicans will trot out retread proposals like health savings accounts, and they'll continue to block Democrats' push to finally release the Epstein files so our victims can get justice that they deserve. But let's be clear, health savings accounts are high deductible plans that carry high fees and high out-of-pocket costs, especially if you have a chronic illness. And like most GOP scams, they don't lower healthcare spending, but instead shift more tax benefits to those who can most afford to contribute their own money to them. These health plans are just like the Epstein files and tax breaks for Republicans. In every direction, they expend huge efforts to protect the wealthiest among us. But if your family needs good coverage to see a doctor, or you want to make sure that Medicare recipients don't face steep price hikes, Republicans just don't care. So now I'd like you to meet Saskia Madison. Saskia works with people who deal with various healthcare challenges and who count on the ACA to get care. She's also a pharmacist, and she also has an Affordable Care Act policy. Saskia? There you are.
I'm over here, okay. Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for having me here to speak to everyone. My name is Saskia Madison, and I am a patient, a caregiver, and an employee within the healthcare system. The spike in the premiums that we are about to see are going to affect everyone, whether it affects you directly or not. This is only going to cause harm to individuals that cannot afford their medication or access to see a healthcare professional. For me personally, I am going to see, as a contract worker, a 50% increase in my premiums for the year, for 2026. So I am asking that our lawmakers come up with a better solution to make what is supposed to be affordable for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Saskia, what does that translate, the 50% increase in premiums to in dollars?
Instead of $1,000 per month, which was already high, it would be $1,500.
I just want to make sure people understand. Sometimes
Mhm.
people don't, can't calculate percentages in their
Correct.
head. So, real world premiums is always good to know. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Next, I'd like you to hear from Jody Kaminsky. Jody wants to share her experience with her domestic partner's healthcare coverage and his adult children who are managing through the Affordable Care Act marketplace right now. Jody?
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Congresswoman. Hi there. My name is Jody, but I'm not here to speak for myself. I am here to speak for my boyfriend and his son. They have both been receiving medical coverage from the Affordable Care Act for many, many years, and it has been a tremendous lifesaver for them. My boyfriend works as a line cook. He's been a line cook for 30 years. He's extremely hardworking. He's worked very hard to provide for himself and his two now adult sons. Since 2018, they've been on the Affordable Care Act, and it has made medical coverage for injuries and routine health care affordable to them. Unfortunately, both Angelo and his sons are now facing huge cost increases for health care in 2026. With the same exact annual salary and the same exact medical plan he's been on for years, Angelo's monthly premiums are going up from $299 a month to $581 a month, which is a 94% increase. His medical plan premiums will go from 12.5% of his annual salary to over 25% of his annual salary. His son Mason, who is 21 years old and works full-time as a dog trainer in Broward County, works very, very hard, but his company is too small to provide him employer-based health insurance, so he also uses the Affordable Care Act. His monthly premium costs for the same annual plan on the same annual salary are going up 111%, from $162 a month to $341 a month for the exact same plan. This is an issue that should transcend politics, and I really hope that Congress can come together and agree to extend the subsidies for millions of Americans. Thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you for sharing their story. George Zamora is the HR director who handles his company's group health plan through Florida Blues Medicare Partnership, and he's concerned that cuts and lapsing ACA premiums are going to dramatically affect the folks that he takes care of.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the really things that are disheartening is, as we look across our workforce, not only here in South Florida, but all the way across, is really what legislative changes will do to people that are already living on a knife's edge. I have the privilege of being able to see both sides, how it affects business, but also teams of employees that are hourly, that don't have the time or the luxury to be able to be here because they're making a living somewhere else. So I represent them, I give them a voice. And what I'm seeing across our premiums and across our teams here in South Florida is an increase of hundreds of dollars depending on the family size plan. This is a direct plea to not only our leaders in Congress, but also to the insurance companies to really understand the implication of decisions that are being made. There's real lives that are at risk. We have a fickle hospital system that also needs help. These decisions matter, and it affects people that are breathing. This is an important topic not only for people with family and children like myself, but also for people that work for a living, that are the backbone, but more importantly, the small business community, who has to navigate parental care for their employees and how to manage their teams as well in the rising costs of healthcare. So this is a direct plea to think, evaluate what is great, what is good for the American people, and understand the responsibility of what these decisions and legislative changes mean to the people that need it the most.
George, can you share what you talked about when we had our roundtable discussion about that this just doesn't, the refusal to extend the enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act doesn't just affect people who have an Affordable Care Act policy. It also is increasing costs for people who have other kinds of insurance.
Oh, absolutely. This is, we're seeing it on our company-sponsored premiums. The problem happens is when they're trying to balance the books, where there's a loss of or higher risk pool of people in one particular medical plan, they're creating losses there, and they have to make up those losses somewhere else. While they can't touch those premiums,
Right.
they do need to make sure that those books balance. So what happens is the people that are on company-sponsored programs end up getting their premiums also raised. So while this is, thought to be an isolated thing on ACA premiums, this is so much bigger than that. It's going to affect people that don't even see it coming. Maybe on this year's premiums, but also on the following years.
It's so important that people know that, because the insurance companies are, as he said, shifting costs from shrinking pools of people who are going to decide either that they can't afford the coverage or that they aren't making as much money on, so they move those costs to folks outside of the Affordable Care Act policies, and we all pay. And then add to that the cost shifting that occurs with a shrinking pool of patients that are showing up at hospitals, and those prices go up because they have to make up their money from somewhere. And so it really jeopardizes the security and of our healthcare system remaining affordable for everyone. So that's why we all need to care about whether we extend these tax credits, because the way I think about it is, it's like when you play a game of Jenga.
Yep.
If we've all played that Jenga, where the game where you have the tower and you pull out that one piece of wood and you're hoping the whole tower doesn't topple. But pulling out that enhanced premium tax credit, and I never thought about it this way until now, you helped illuminate it for me, so thank you. Pulling out that one piece of enhanced premium tax credit can actually cause the entire tower to topple. And we can't do that to the American people. We have to focus on making sure we bring people's kitchen table costs down. So thank you so much for your help.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
story. Now Stephanie Van Mark. Stephanie and her husband have a family plan through the marketplace. Like so many families, they're dealing with a significant increase for this next year's plan.
Thank you very much,
Welcome.
Congresswoman.
Absolutely.
And thank you for this opportunity to share my story. My name is Stephanie Van Bark, and I am an entrepreneur, a small business owner, as a matter of fact, and so is my husband. We're a family of two. Our insurance, we do make more income than what is required in the marketplace, but we chose to go to the marketplace understanding we could manage our monthly payments better at $8.98. And then pay the difference on the back end in taxes, because you do ultimately have to pay those dollars back, and that's fine. We've had that understanding. As you can imagine, when you're an entrepreneur, your salaries go through an ebb and flow, so sometimes good, sometimes bad, but we figured we could manage that. But we just learned that our increase is now going up. That would have been $1,650. It's now going up to $2,000 a month. So that's $24,000 a year. That's a lot of money, much more than I pay for my monthly mortgage. So we are one of those couples that's talking about, does it make good sense to stay in the marketplace or insurance at all? So we start to look at some primary, outside of the marketplace. They're starting at $3,000 a month. It's still cheaper to go through the marketplace. And I forgot to mention, we are sort of getting experiences with scams. People with insurance come in, get scams come on. So
Yeah.
that's been a challenge as well. So we're thinking about it. We're not sure yet, but we're thinking about it. We're gonna have to make some decisions for sure.
And Stephanie shared with me that, they're healthy now, and thank God for that, but this is a decision that so many families are facing right now, where in some cases they have to decide whether they're buying groceries or paying the rent or being able to pay for that healthcare premium as part of their family budget. And even though you're healthy now, I mean, I'm someone who knows that, you know, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Anyone can get hit with a healthcare challenge out of the blue. When I was 41, one day I was the picture of health. The next day I was a breast cancer patient after I found a lump doing a routine self-exam. At 41 years old, I had no healthcare problems in my entire life, and suddenly I had breast cancer. And so you just never know. And when you're in a situation like that with a sudden healthcare challenge, or God forbid you get into an accident. I'll give you another example. When my daughter was 14, she was riding around in a golf cart with friends of hers in a neighborhood, and the kid driving was going too fast, and the golf cart fell over, and I get an emergency call that she's being rushed to the emergency room, and she has a concussion because she fell off the golf cart. 14 years old. Thank God she was fine. But that was a unexpected situation where that happens to people and they aren't fine. And so you have unexpected healthcare costs that people get hit with. I hope you're able to find a way. I most especially hope that we are able to, and I will go back to Washington and fight to extend these tax credits so you're not faced with an unaffordable situation like you are.
Thank you. We'll help with the fight.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And last but certainly not least, Felicia Persaud, who runs a small business, and she's confronting some eye-popping price hikes, and I really want you to hear her story as well.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman. It's really a pleasure, and thank you for fighting for us on this very important issue. Again, my name is Felicia Persaud. I'm a small business owner here in Broward County. I'm also a Caribbean immigrant and also an independent voter, so this has absolutely nothing to do with politics. I just want to share with you that in 2026, I believe strongly that I will be uninsured. And why? Because currently I have been covered by the marketplace since 2017, and my current insurance rate is $109.38 per month. Just checking the enrollment last week, I find that my premiums now for 2026 for the same exact plan is going to be $941.15 a month. That's almost $12,000 a year. It's definitely more than my mortgage, and it's something that I can ill afford at this point. At this point, I think it's cheaper for me to go to the Caribbean and get my preventative care there and come back to the U.S. Sad, because this is really one of the richest countries in the world, we're told, and we find billions to give to everybody else in the world, bail countries out, but we can't insure our own people here, U.S. citizens who are part of this country. As my grandmother would say, this is absolute wickedness. And I think for people who are talking about Christianity as a Christian, if they're really reading the Bible, I think they should really look and say, you know, what is the greatest commandment? And it is love of self and love of neighbor. So that is something I'd like Republicans to actually think about, including the president, who is such a big, great negotiator, because come December 31st at midnight, I'm going from Obamacare to the Trump does not care policy. And that is something that really upsets me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Felicia. I want to just close with a final word here. We have Republicans who really could have sat down with Democrats to negotiate a better health plan for struggling families. We're going to keep fighting like hell to make sure that we run through the tape and do everything we can to bring our friends from the other side of the aisle over to the table so we can sit down and negotiate. There is a discussion going on in the United States Senate. No guarantee and no commitment from Speaker Johnson that he would even bring a compromise piece of legislation to the floor if one comes over from there. And that's just, to me, an unacceptable situation, because we should always be working together to make sure that life is affordable for all Americans. So thank you all for joining us. I'm also going to make some remarks in Spanish now, so we can reach out to our Spanish language families. Acabo de hablar con algunos de nuestros vecinos del condado de Broward que en este momento se enfrentan a un futuro incierto en cuanto a la cobertura médica. Escuché un tema común de cada uno de ellos durante nuestra mesa redonda. La vida es demasiado cara ahora mismo y el rápido aumento de los costos del seguro médico es inaceptable. La ley que Trump firmó para reabrir el gobierno solo garantiza dos cosas. Senadores republicanos como Rick Scott, que ayudaron a Trump a intentar robarse las elecciones, recibirán millones de dólares en fondos públicos. Y al mismo tiempo, los precios para las familias trabajadoras van a aumentar. Esto simplemente acelerará el ataque de los republicanos contra el acceso a atención médica alcanzable y de calidad. No olviden que los republicanos ya recortaron $1 billón de dólares de Medicaid a través de su Big Ugly Law. Y esa misma ley republicana también recortará $500 mil millones de Medicare. Los demócratas seguiremos luchando con uñas y dientes para cumplir nuestra promesa de reducir los costos para todos los estadounidenses. Gracias. Thank you, everyone.